Hey, welcome back to another video. My name is Megan and I'm a professional writer and editor and an aspiring author. I start most of my videos with the same disclaimer. I am not a coach, nor am I trying to be a coach. I'm here purely to share my journey as an author, and that's it. Although, of course, I hope you learn something new, even if it's something very tiny. All right, today I want to share some of the various writing tools I've used while working on my latest manuscripts. I will provide a brief description of each, how I use it, my opinions, and what I paid. I get nothing out of recommending these tools. I have no affiliate links, nothing. So there is zero outside influence on the opinions I'm going to share. Do bear in mind that at the time of this recording, it is May of 2025. So if you are watching this video beyond that time, prices can change, of course. Before I get into the list, I want to stress that I used to write in Microsoft Word and I used nothing else. And I did that for a very long time. I do not believe that you need tons of expensive and fancy tools to be an author. I don't believe that. I do think that strategically using certain tools can make your life easier, but what you use depends on what works for you. The first tool I started using years ago was Google Docs, and I completely switched from Word to Docs. Google Docs comes free with a Gmail account. I'm super old school, so in the beginning, the entire concept of Google Docs was like, who needs it? I do, I need it. Are they both word processors? Yes. The functionality might not be all that different, but here's why I will probably never go back. First, when you write in Google Docs, you are not saving anything to your computer, to your device. Rather, your work is automatically saved to your Google account. This means that you can access it anywhere, assuming you can log in. This also means that should your computer crash or, God forbid, you lose it or it's stolen, you won't lose all your work. Don't let your ego get the best of you. These things can happen to anyone. The second reason this was a good switch is Google Docs is more collaborative. What I mean is, let's say you want to share your manuscript with a friend or a beta reader or an editor. All you have to send them is the link to the document, whether it's the original or a copy you made, whichever. This also means that anytime you make changes to that doc, you don't have to email them another attachment. Their link doesn't change or expire, so it's way less messy and it's also more secure. So that was the first switch I made. Again, it's free. If you have a Gmail account, then you have Google Docs. Another tool I've tried and really like is Scrivener. I have a whole video on this, so I'm not going to get into too much detail, but I will leave the link to that video below. In a nutshell, Scrivener is a different kind of word processing tool in that it's basically on steroids. It's a behemoth. Aside from using it to write, it's excellent for outlining because you can organize text in several different ways, like in folders and notes. You can also add descriptions to them. So imagine using this to outline chapters or scenes, and you can easily drag and drop these things to rearrange them. So Scrivener is very nimble. I want to be transparent. The downside is that because Scrivener is so powerful and multifaceted, there's a learning curve and it's steep. You cannot learn it in a weekend. In fact, I never learned all the features, period. What I realized works for me is using it to outline in depth, and then I write in Google Docs. But I do know plenty of writers who write directly in Scrivener, to be fair. I did do that with one manuscript and the process was fine, it worked fine. But where I ran into a bunch of issues, and full disclosure, this could be user error, meaning it's my fault. Scrivener, its version of exporting a doc is called compiling, and every time I've tried to compile something in Scrivener to put it into Google Docs so I can continue working on it, the formatting gets funky, the fonts get funky, and I end up having to redo a lot of it, which when you're talking about, a manuscript, it takes a long time. So again, that's probably on me, but I do remember getting super frustrated with it. So that's why I use Scrivener in some ways, but not others. Let's talk about the price. You do not pay a monthly subscription to Scrivener like you might for other tools. You purchase a license and you download it. This means that it becomes your copy on your computer. Right now, the standard license for both Mac and Windows is $59.99. Because you purchase and download a license, this does mean that if there is an upgrade or updates to Scrivener in the future, you don't automatically get it. I checked their website and there is special upgrade pricing, so just know that if you wanted an updated version, it would be an additional expense. Is it worth the cost, Scrivener? In my opinion, yes. I don't envision myself ever paying for an upgrade because, like I said, I use it for specific parts of the writing process and not all of it, but I do know other authors who go ham and use Scrivener top to bottom and they swear by it. So it really just depends on how you plan to use it. If you're like me and you're maybe more of like what we could call a casual user, meaning you only use it for part of the process. Like I said, I won't be paying for any upgraded versions. It does what I need it to do and I'm good. The third writing tool I'm a fan of is Autocrit. Autocrit is a manuscript editing tool. So you put your manuscript into it and it gives you a ton of feedback and information and suggestions to improve. For example, it identifies words and phrases that you repeat a lot. This is how I learned that I describe everything as tiny, heavy, dense, or thick. It picks out adverbs, which I will argue that there's a time and a place for adverbs, but I know that agents and publishers tend to dislike when they're overly used because it's seen as lazy. It gives you feedback on your readability, your pacing, and then it can analyze everything to give your manuscript an overall score, and it'll tell you where you lost points. Now, I love Autocrit, that's why I'm including it, but I learned not to let it dominate everything. It's still an online tool, right? So it's not perfect and it's not human. I found myself falling into this trap of making all of these very, very, very tiny changes just for the sake of increasing my score. And I took it to an extreme. That's on me, not the tool. So if you want to try it and you came to me as your friend and you were like, hey, got any tips? I'd say try to identify the big pieces of feedback or the low-hanging fruit. For me, that was, as an example, words that I repeat way too much. Do not take everything Autocrit tells you as gospel and don't let the score dictate the story. Again, this is not a problem with the tool. We're talking about how we as authors use it. I have Autocrit Pro and it's $30 a month. I believe they had a deal running where the first month was $15, but let's say $30. I don't think this is a tool that I will end up paying for every month because I'm not always going to need it. I use it when I have a really solid draft and I'm looking for that type of feedback. So that means I'm not using it at any point before that. I have my paranormal horror Chasing Ghosts, so I was using Autocrit for that. That manuscript is done, God willing. Eventually, I will probably pause my membership while I continue working on The First Forge, which is my fantasy novel. I've got a bunch of videos on that, so you can go check those out if you want. I have a first draft, a very, very rough first draft, and I'm not ready for Autocrit yet. That's just my preference. The fourth writing tool I like, which I just started using, is Speechify. No, it's not a writing tool, but as an author, oh my God, it saved my behind big time. My friend Chris recommended this one. Speechify is a text-to-speech tool, so you can put text in and it'll read it out loud to you. Here's why this was such a lifesaver for me. I've said before that one reason editing is so difficult for me is that after reading a manuscript 50 times, I cannot stand to read it anymore. It's so hard. I'm completely desensitized to it. And at that point, coming up with creative ideas and solutions is very hard for me. Let me be clear, I am not an audiobook gal simply because I do not have the attention span for audio. I get distracted very easily. So I didn't think this would work for me. But Chris brought it up and I thought, okay, I want to be open and give it a shot. I researched several text-to-speech tools and I was hoping to find a free one. There are free ones, but in my opinion, they're just not that great. I was comfortable investing a little bit in a tool like this, so I compared a few paid options, and Speechify ended up being one of the more affordable ones. You can paste in text, you can upload text, or you can connect Speechify to your Google Drive and just import your manuscript or whatever file you have. That's what I did. And then you can select a voice. They've got Snoop Dogg, they've got Gwyneth Paltrow. It's not all celebrities, but they have a lot of options, is my point. This saved editing for me because now I'm not constantly rereading my work. I'm listening and following along with Speechify. So I'm still reading, but not alone, and it's a lot smoother and easier. Also, I speed the voice up quite a bit, sometimes to more than 2x, I can still register everything and I'm paying very close attention, but I've just found this to be so much more efficient. And hearing your work read out loud is so different from just reading it yourself. Some authors recommended that I read my work out loud myself, and I tried that, but personally it doesn't help me. When I do that, I'm focused on reading, not on how to improve it. I'll do that for bits of dialogue, but for the whole manuscript, it just wasn't a good fit for me. So text-to-speech is where it's at for me. I paid for the premium subscription, and that's about $12 per month per user, and I'm the only user. There is a free version. It has 10 voice options, while premium has over 200, and they're more human sounding. There are also a few other ways that the free version is more limited. Actually, right before I recorded this video, I didn't realize it, but I didn't have my account set to auto renew, and I hit the first month, so it downgraded me from premium to a free account. The free version of Speechify specifically, it's still not great. The paid version is like way better, obviously, but for where I'm at now, it works. So the thing with the free version is the voice that I'm using is a lot more robotic, and it doesn't always understand your writing. Like when it hits a period in a sentence, it'll say dot out loud, and it does it pretty frequently. So that's really weird, and it takes me out of the experience a little bit. But at this point, I'm using Speechify for the first forge, which again, it's a very rough draft. I've just started editing it. So the free version gets the job done now, but as I fine tune this manuscript and get it closer to the finish line, I am gonna pay for the premium version again, just because the voices are so much smoother and they have more natural inflections, and when they see a period, they don't call out dot. On that note, I always recommend starting with the free version of any tool. If you like it enough, pay for it. I wish I had started using something like this sooner, because it's just made editing a lot less painful. You know what I said earlier, when you read something over and over again, it starts to feel really stale just because you're so used to it. This tool is slowing that down for me. What a lifesaver. The fifth tool I use pretty regularly is Grammarly. I use it for free, and I have the Chrome extension. I like Grammarly because it does catch little typos that I sometimes miss. Similar to Autocrit, you can't take it as gospel. Grammarly will suggest things that aren't correct, at least in the case of your writing. I do notice that once a document gets long enough, the Chrome extension slows down Google Docs a little. So as an example, Chasing Ghosts is about 76,000 words. If I toggle the Grammarly extension on, it still works, but there's a brief lag. So what I've started doing is leaving the extension toggled off until I specifically want to look for typos, which, because it gets a little slow, I'll do that in sessions, essentially. Grammarly does other things besides finding typos, but that's all that I personally use it for. With all of these tools, it pays to do your due diligence before investing. Like I said, if it's available, start with the free version, knowing, of course, that it's limited. But that should give you a taste, a good idea, and familiarize yourself with what you would get if you paid. Look up online reviews, see what other people are saying about it. I know a lot of tools offer a better deal if you pay annually. Personally, I don't typically do that. For peace of mind, I'd rather pay a little more monthly and be able to cancel at any time without, having to pay more. On that note, I like to set myself reminders for when a renewal is coming up, especially if it's a tool that's new to me. That way I can reevaluate if I want to pay for another month before I'm charged. I don't typically set up auto pay unless it's something I know I love and will continue using, but still I don't think it's a bad idea, even in that case, to set yourself reminders just so you don't get charged for something you didn't want to pay for. I feel like this might come up in the comments, so I figured I'd address it now. AI. I have a couple of videos on that, so I'll put the links below. I'm not getting into a debate about AI. Oh my God, I'm so tired of that conversation. It's important, I know, but I'm just worn out right now. So without getting into it too much, I know my limit with AI. I will not use AI to write for me, period. I have no interest in this because I love writing. That's the whole point for me. So I'm not even tempted to use AI in this context. I want to do the writing. Now, many writing and editing tools are now incorporating AI into certain features. To be perfectly honest, I don't know how I feel about that yet, so I tend to stay away from it. Generally speaking, and not just talking about writing anymore, I'm not anti-AI. I believe there's a time and a place for it, and there are so many applications of AI, infinite applications, that to me, it actually sounds quite ignorant when someone says that, AI is awful, AI's, evil. You can't tell me that when we're using AI to, for example, detect breast cancer years before it actually forms. So I tend to avoid blanket statements like that because to me, again, it just sounds ignorant. Now, when it comes to the publishing industry, it's a gray area. I think it's something we need to at least consider, but on a case-by-case basis. Autocrit uses AI for the Inspiration Studio feature. I haven't used this, so I can't really speak about it, and I don't know if I will use it, to be honest. Grammarly uses AI for specific things. But before I can feel comfortable with AI, period, I want to know what it's doing with my data and if it's truly helping me. Like, how is AI saving me time or energy if I choose to use it? If we're talking about chatbots like ChatGPT, again, this is my personal opinion. When I've used ChatGPT in general, I've found it helpful for like very quick, straightforward things. Like, I've played with it to create lists of high protein meals. I needed recipe ideas. But once I get more complicated than that, it just starts to feel like I'm spending more time adjusting the prompt to the point where it's not helpful anymore. And that's where chatbots have their own learning curve with the prompt. There's a whole line of work called prompt engineering because it's a skill, and it's one I'm not really interested in perfecting. It's crazy because I feel like AI is creeping into everything, but brands aren't always transparent about that. Like, sometimes they don't even mention AI on their websites, probably because of the reaction some people will have. So they come up with other creative ways to say it. Do your research, keep an open mind, take baby steps, you'll be okay. If you run across a tool and you do discover that they use AI in any of their features, try not to have that immediate reaction where you're like, well, if they use AI, I don't want it. You are going to find AI in a lot of writing and editing tools. That doesn't mean the whole tool uses it. So it's okay to pick and choose what features you want to use, and then you can discard the rest. AI is not inherently bad. We decide whether we use it for good or bad. Just like social media. Social media isn't inherently bad. We decide. I like how I said I wasn't going to get into it, and here we are. Okay, I think that's it. I'd love to know what you think about the tools I included on this list, and if you have any of your own recommendations, I would love to hear them. I'm always interested in trying new things. As always, I hope you're doing very well. I hope your writing is just going swimmingly. Drop me a comment, let me know how it's going so I can cheer you on. And yeah, if you have any ideas for my next videos, you can also drop me a comment and let me know what you'd like to see. And I think that's it for today. See you next time.